We are talking about solving quadratic functions by completing the square. And in order to do that, we need to use the square root property. But in order to use the square root property, we need to make sure that the quadratic expression is a perfect square. And so sometimes it's not a perfect square. And in the case when it's not a perfect square, we can follow these steps. The first thing that we need to pay attention to is we need to make sure that the coefficient on the quadratic term must be 1. So in this case, we have a lead coefficient of 1, so we can go through with the process. So we want to get one side of the equation so that it's just x squared plus bx. So right now we have x squared plus bx, but we also have a c. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of that c. So what we can do is we can set this equal to 0, and because that's when we want to find our solution. So we subtract 128 from both sides of the equation, and then we get x squared plus 24x. Now we're going to have to add some value that's going to help make it a perfect square. And that is still going to be equal to negative 128. But that also is going to have that value is going to be added to this side as well. So whatever we add to the left side, we're going to have to add to the right side also. So we can take a look at this. We got the first step is we have it in x squared plus bx, but now we have to figure out what that c is. And the way that we calculate the c value is we say we take b, whatever the coefficient is for the b, divided by 2 and square it. So our b value here in this case is 24. So I'll write that over here on the left. So our b value that is given is equal to 24. So in order to find c, we're going to use that equation. So c is equal to b divided by 2 squared. And so we can substitute it in to figure out what this specific b is going to be. So c is equal to 24 divided by 2, still squared. C is equal to 12 squared. So in this case, c is equal to 144. So we're going to add 144 to both sides. So here we add 144, and here we add 144. And now we can go ahead and figure out what our perfect square is. Now the nice thing about this is whatever is inside, whatever 24 divided by 2, whatever that is, ends up making the value that makes this a perfect square. So on the left side, we're trying to get two binomials that are exactly the same. So in order to get x, we factor it and we get xx. So x times x is x squared. Two numbers that multiply together to 144, that ends up being 12. So 12 and 12, and they have to add to 24. So then we add. So then we get x plus 12 times x plus 12 equals. And 144 minus 128. And we get 16. Now we can rewrite this because we have two values that are exactly the same. So we can write it as x plus 12, and that quantity squared is equal to 16. To get rid of the squared term, we can square root both sides. Whenever we take the square root, we know it has to be plus or minus, in this case plus or minus 4. And our square and our square root cancel, and we're left with x plus 12. We can subtract 12 from both sides. And right here, we have to consider both the plus and the minus. So we can get x is equal to negative 4 minus 12. And then x is also equal to positive 4 minus 12. So in this case, x is equal to 4 minus 12, which is negative 8. And in this case, x is equal to negative 4 minus 12, which is equal to negative 16. So those are the two solutions for this particular problem. And then we can look at an example. And we have it graphed here. We have the function x squared plus 24x plus 128. And then we can see that it has a solution at negative 16, 0 and negative 8, 0.